Welcome to GreenBiz Studio. My name is Alex Navarro, Senior Manager of Nature at GreenBiz, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with Michelle French, Director of Global Sustainability Programs at ADM. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, to get started, could you tell us a little bit about your work decarbonizing agriculture?
Absolutely. So, right now, we've been focusing on our processing emissions, of course. Scope 1 and 2 is of utmost importance to every company out there. But now we've really transitioned to looking upstream, what's happening at the field level. So, we're really excited about our ADM regenerations program. We are rolling out regenerative agriculture incentives to farmers globally at this point. Our biggest footprint is in the US, but we've now expanded into Europe and South America.
Great, thank you. That's a great overview and transitions nicely into my next question. So, jumping in a little bit more, I'd like to hear about how some of your work around Scope 3 emissions really plays out on the ground, and particularly focusing on partnerships, which are really critical to measuring and accounting for Scope 3 emissions across agricultural supply chains. Could you tell us a little bit how you're leveraging partnerships in your work at ADM? And if you could, share some specific examples of what this looks like in practice.
Yeah, another great question. So we do quite a bit with other groups. One of the things that we discovered early on when we started this, we brought farmers in and we did some interview panels. And consistently, time after time after time, what they told us was, we don't want ADM telling us how to farm. So we knew from the very beginning we were going to have to rely on partners. And this is really a full supply chain effort. Everybody along the chain who wants to be able to report on the Scope 3 impacts comes to everybody who wants to be able to take credit for some of these reductions in their supply chain comes to the table. We all sit down, we agree upon our outcomes, and we identify who are the boots on the ground partners that we want to work with. So, right now, one example that I'll give you is a project that we have with PepsiCo and Keurig Dr. Pepper. We're actually going out and we're talking to farmers, keeping in mind that farmers don't just grow one crop usually. So we found both of these downstream customers who are interested because between them, they both take products from wheat, from soy, from corn. So we're able to go and talk to a farmer more holistically. Beyond that, we always partner with a data partner. One of the biggest pain points that we discovered early on was that providing the level of data and detail that's needed to do some of these calculations is a huge burden for farmers. If we don't make it simple, they don't even want to start. So we have a data partner. We use FBN, Farmers Business Network. They collect the data. They're also our monitoring, measurement, verification, reporting partner. We also use a number of different technical assistance partners. And this gets back to the comment, nobody wants ADM to tell them how to farm. So we bring in conservation-minded agronomists who will go out and talk with farmers about what their operation looks like, different changes they've been thinking about making, and let them know about all the different incentive programs that are out there. So if a farmer's been thinking about trying cover crops, doesn't know for sure if he wants to do, all of his field, can you just try some? They talk about how to do that. What makes the most sense? What types of cover crops? How to plant them? How to transition from the cover crop to his cash crop? And then also, of course, what incentives are out there? ADM and PepsiCo and Keurig Dr. Pepper are offering this amount. Oh, but by the way, you can also leverage USDA funds under this program. So it really is about getting the most value for the farmer, finding good, reliable, credible data, and then putting that into a format that ADM, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and PepsiCo can all use in their Scope 3 reporting.
Thank you. Great answer. I imagine this can get complicated kind of quickly when you're working across multiple companies, multiple stakeholders, data providers. So, can you talk a little bit more about the efforts that are being made to ensure that this process is simple and streamlined for all of the stakeholders, and especially when it comes to implementation?
Yeah, so we try to keep it simple by having very clear sell sheets for our farmers. So if you're in Illinois, you can go to our website and you can look, these are the 3 programs that are being offered in Illinois. If I'm growing wheat, I qualify for this program. Here's the incentive amount. Here's what I have to do. We're very clear, very upfront what the obligation of the farmer is going to be. And as I mentioned previously, we use Farmers Business Network, FBN. They have really helped us to simplify the data collection piece. We have farmers who had done some projects with us on a pilot basis before we engaged a data partner. And the constant feedback we got was that the process was painful. It took hours. They didn't want to do it anymore. There was no incentive we could offer that would make them want to do this. And FBN came in and really changed that. They got that to a farmer might spend 45 minutes entering data. And that has really been a huge unlock for us. We found that when we make this streamlined and simple, but also very straightforward for the grower, the other pieces fall into place.
Thank you for that, for sharing that and for that example. It's great to hear that you did identify pain points and then adjusted based on what you heard from the farmers. So, yeah, excellent example of how you're streamlining this process. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and get beyond scope 3. So incorporating other impacts like biodiversity, water, deforestation. So your work demands familiarity with a wide range of protocols and reporting standards, including greenhouse gas protocol, TNFD, EUDR, the whole alphabet soup. The list goes on. So what are some of the approaches that you're taking to integrate measurement and accounting across all of these frameworks?
Yeah, it really starts with having a great team. I can't say enough about the group that we've put together, both internal to ADM as well as some of these external partners that we work with. But I'm going to keep going back to it. Keeping it streamlined and simple for the farmer is really where it's at. So we have identified what is kind of the minimum amount of data we need and what's the maximum. Which programs can overlap, which ones have to be kept separate. And then we can go to the farmer with a very streamlined data request. And then we take that data coming in, we work with FBN, we work with our downstream partners to figure out, okay, these acres that came in, the data we got, this would qualify for ISCC, or this would qualify for a scope 3 reduction, or this is fully traceable to farm. So this one could go to a customer who's interested in verified, traceable, no deforestation products. So it's really a balancing act, but comes back to having to know all of the rules, know what our customers are wanting, and keeping it simple for the farmer. We don't want to have to go to a farmer and ask them, are you interested in ISCC, EUDR, and every alphabet soup that you just named? We want to go to them and say, hey, these practices that you're interested in that we've been talking about, these qualify for a number of programs, and we're going to figure out which one has the best incentive for you so that it looks very streamlined on their end and we're able to fulfill all the different customer needs. But to your point, it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of assessing all of these different frameworks, and they keep coming, right? It's not just here's the two, here's the third one. Every time I turn around, there's another one. So it's a lot of collaboration with external groups as well, sharing knowledge. We collaborate with our downstream customers quite a bit, trying to get through, for example, the greenhouse gas protocol land sector removals guidance that came out, 500 some odd pages. So we sat down with some very key supply chain partners and said, all right, give me your output from the first 2 chapters. Here's my output from the second 2. And we all kind of had our own subgroup working through it. And that was incredibly beneficial.
Amazing. That's a great example of a good collaborative effort to get through all of this. Well, great. I just want to wrap up with one last question, just to kind of tie things together. Is there any one area that you are going to really be focusing in on, honing in 2024?
That's probably my favorite question. I always wish that I had a crystal ball because the year tends to kind of dictate what it's going to be on its own. But from right now, we're really excited about biodiversity measurements. How do we take what is a nature-based industry, we take nature-based products and turn this into a nature-based solution. I know that's a big buzzword right now, but there's a lot that can be done with agriculture. Right now, everything is focusing on in-field practices, cover crops and tillage. But what we're really excited about is broadening to edge of field practices, taking a look at hedgerows, maybe planting buffer strips, pollinator habitats. There can be some nitrogen reactors. There are quite a few things happening edge of field. And that's not even getting into integrated farming where you have crops, row crops planted between forestry projects and you're integrating livestock. So there's some really cutting edge things on the horizon for agriculture. A lot of it is how do we measure it? How do we quantify it? Everybody knows that's where we're going, but we don't know quite what the output is going to look like. But I'm very excited to see what comes out of 2024.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's been a pleasure to have you, and I really look forward to seeing what those outputs are and seeing what the next phase of your biodiversity work is. So thank you so much.
Thank you.